to the club, 'cause you're that kind of nerd.
Hello and welcome to the club that is That Kind of Nerd, a show where we talk about the nerdy things that we are passionate about. Now, normally, I would tell you that we then judge them and assign points to each other based on the conversation, but today, we have no Brian Thornton, and it is just Josh and I, so therefore there will be no points. There will be no fighting for scraps for points. There's also no rigging, so perfectly fine. So Brian is going to be really salty that he's here on the unrigged episode, but since we are the best nerdy podcast, this is still going to be a great conversation because, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to officially welcome Josh Burns to the show.
What up?
So I got a couple topics for today. Again, general larger discussion to be had, but I want to lead off with probably the biggest story and probably something that we've been moaning and lamenting and praying to the nerdy gods for, and that is we got some news from DC. And it's good news this time, which is Black Adam. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if you saw Black Adam. Did you see Black Adam yet?
No. I basically read what you said and went, I'll just wait.
Yeah, it is movie. It is movie. But good news finally happening out of the world of DC. They have named two co-CEOs for DC, taking it in a new direction. It is Peter Safran and the one, the only James Gunn of Guardians of the Galaxy fame, of the Suicide Squad fame, is now co-CEO of DC Films. Praise the nerdy gods. This is awesome. I am very excited for this. I'm curious, though, to get your 2 cents on this change.
I mean, just because they're CEO, they are CEO, I don't think it necessarily does anything for the direction of the studio. Not yet, at least. They still have all of these things in production. and so I like super like tempered expectations. And how does it work with like James Gunn still has a tie-in to Marvel?
So it's done after he's done his contract. He is exclusively working with DC. So the last thing that James Gunn has with Marvel is Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but that movie's done. That movie's all but
post-production.
It's all post-production. Yeah. It's all done. The Christmas special's already in the can. He's done with them, and then he is obviously going to be exclusively with DC. No bouncing back and forth. And James Gunn brought something very unique and special to the MCU. I think it was correctly contained within the goofy Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think that all the controversy and back and forth that happened with him put a bad taste in his mouth. So when DC knocked on his door for the Suicide Squad, he was like, "I'll happily come and do that." And the huge success that was, not only critically, but the fans were head over heels for it. I think it makes sense for him to stay with a company that values and treats him loyally and is willing to put him in a position of power like this.
Let me ask you why you think this is good for DC.
We've been saying that someone needs to step in to be kind of a creative mind to keep a lot of things spinning, a Feige-esque role within DC. And I think James Gunn can be half of that person, because as we talked about, and if you watch She-Hulk, Kevin Feige is unreal and unhuman, right? No one operates like that. It takes an AI robot or 2 people to do what one Kevin Feige does. But I think James Gunn has a vision. James Gunn knows how to tell people that vision, and I think James Gunn can keep a central point of view moving forward on these projects. I think he's going to be able to put people into the role and say, this is the point of view, add your spectacle to it, but we'll adhere to this. I think he's going to set down a roadmap and a vision to it.
So, yeah, I don't know. So obviously Marvel is a Disney property, right?
Yep.
And Feige is the president of Marvel Studios, not a CEO of a company. Right. And then, James Gunn's going to handle the creative side, and Peter Safran's going to handle the financial side.
Yeah.
And what you're going to have is creative can't get done what they want to get done because financial says it can't happen.
But Go ahead. I'm
But
sorry.
what?
Well,
Tell me that's not like exactly
I don't think
how this shit happens.
I want you to look at Peacemaker. I don't know if you got to watch Peacemaker.
I watched most of Peacemaker.
Peacemaker is 100%. It has James Gunn's fingerprints all over it. It should make very little sense from like a financial standpoint, right? It's got John Cena, good star power, but it's like an obscure character who is really like out there in that path, and it was a huge risk with a huge success attached to it. And he like wrote and directed a majority of those. Actually, he wrote like 8 episodes of that entire run. I don't know if that's all of them, but like I think that he's proven that we can do some weird stuff. We can you can let it happen, and there's financial sex behind it that Peter Safran's not going to be a poo-poo or no guy. Be like, I respect your creative art vision, James, but the money isn't there. Like, I don't think it's going to be that kind of dynamic. Now, looking at the pedigree of his co-CEO, his co-chief, I'm not like super impressed with him. I'm not head over heels and super excited that he's in charge of there. But you're telling me James Gunn, and I'll put a in Feige we trust for James, in Gunn we trust. Make it work, as to quote another Gunn. I'm confident this is going to look pretty good.
Okay, look.
Is this not what we've been asking for? Give us someone who actually cares and put them in charge, and like give them the run for it.
I think either DC and Warner Brothers, by extension, doesn't understand what a CEO does, or
right,
or James Gunn and Peter Safran really envision their involvement to be a whole lot different than what the fans want, because that's not what a CEO does.
I think it's possible that they're just using the word CEO to basically say president, like Feige, right?
No, I understand. They want to. But what they're doing is going. This is better.
This is better. We're upping that Feige factor.
We are.
Feige's just a president. They're CEOs, right?
See, and that's where I'm at. Right.
Right.
It's an exercise in vanity that I think is unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
And
welcome to Warner Brothers.
When I look at co-founders, executive partner type relationships, there is genuinely, or generally one genuine visionary, mm-hmm. and then one person that can execute.
Yeah.
Bill Gates, Paul Allen, Jobs, and Wozniak, Sergey Brin, and fucking who was with him at Google. And I really should know that, but
he was on the board of directors of Apple too. I forget his name.
Larry Page.
There
it was escaping me, right? The two guys from eBay, Jeffrey Skoll's one of them. Like these are the things that, like, these are the pairs that I think about,
right? Where
you have one genuine visionary, and one person who can build relationships and execute. My problem is I don't think James Gunn is a genuine visionary, and Peter Safran, he's a producer. Yeah, one's a writer and one's a producer, and that's great.
Director. James Gunn's writer director.
I know.
I mean, and then he cast his brother.
He's a better writer than he is a director. We can agree to that, right?
Yes, okay. I can judge that.
Which is why I said writer. I didn't say director.
Touche. All right. The thing that I'll say, when you're putting them paired up together, right? When you mention Jobs and Woz and Larry Page and everybody, when I look at the filmography, the producing history of Peter Safran, when it comes to DC stuff, he's produced things in DC that I think are the highlights of DC. He gets one mulligan, right? The first DC project that I see on his list was Aquaman. I get a lot of people like Aquaman. I did not. That is his mulligan. But then he's on Shazam, which I like. Then he's on The Suicide Squad with James Gunn. Then he's on Peacemaker with James Gunn, right? Then they're working on the new Shazam, the new Blue Beetle, the new Aquaman. So those two at least have worked together in that kind of capacity of having that kind of relationship with the Suicide Squad and with Peacemaker, that I can see, hey, they probably must have a good relationship if they're willing to do this chief co-chief Elliot JD kind of relationship thing. I don't know. Again, Peter doesn't excite me. James does. I'm sorry you don't feel the same way about James Gunn. James Gunn also, he has some other things under his belt that I'm like, I could deal without that, but I still like where he's going and the movies that he's done. But this is better than whatever the fuck they were doing before, right? Can we agree on that? This is better than whoever the hell was running the ship at DC before, or just saying, whatever Snyder says, guys, we're just doing whatever Snyder says. Like, this seems better, just on the surface. No?
Yeah, on the surface.
All right, so it's obvious then that I have the fanboy glasses on, rose-colored glasses, fanboying out about this decision, and not the business brain that you have. So take off my rose-colored glasses for a minute. What are some honest-to-God possible downsides or concerns that you would have about the co-CEO role with these two at the helm of DC Films? Because this includes their animated projects, this includes their live-action projects, this includes anything under the DC Films umbrella. It's a big thing to cover. What are some possible downsides to James Gunn and Peter Safran? And you said already one of them is you don't think James Gunn's that visionary Feige-esque person.
No, I don't. I think, look, if you want to put James Gunn and Peter Safran as co-CEOs, great. You still need someone with creative chops that is really tied into this universe. And where's Jeff Johns? Like, where is Jeff Johns? And if you're going to put somebody at the head of DC Studios, it seems to me that would be the logical choice.
There's been some also controversy with Jeff Johns and that's probably why he's now put into this kind of position. I'm sure he's going to be directly involved within it, right? I think he's going to be the right-hand man. He's still going to be the guy who's there to do that. Again, you find the guy and then you put the right people in place, and I think Jeff Johns will still be involved with that. But I think that you've got just some pressure because of some controversies he's got involved with him, especially with some of the stuff that happened on the Justice League set with Joss Whedon. He got wrapped up in all of that. So I think he's just a little too hot to put into a public persona like that. I agree with you. I know Brian would yell at you at this, but I agree. But again, the world being the world that it is,
Brian's gonna yell at me for it?
He's gonna be like, "I'm with you, Josh." Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But unfortunately, dude, all that controversy with freaking Joss Whedon, like it's.
I don't need him to be the CEO. I don't need any of these people to be a CEO. I need very much for whoever is making the final calls on this stuff to leave the DC animated shit alone. Leave it alone. There's nothing wrong with DC animated universe.
Right, yeah. Let that roll the way that it's supposed to roll, right? One thing that you mentioned, and this happened before the announcement of the co-CEOs came in, Josh. So I think they're trying to give Gunn and Safran, whatever. He's either a very good spice and or a human being.
Yes.
They came in with a couple things, and they axed a bunch of stuff. Obviously, as we already talked about, Batgirl gone, right?
They axed a bunch of questions, or they canceled a bunch of things.
Sorry, they canceled a bunch of projects and movies.
I'm just checking. I wasn't sure what you were saying.
I appreciate it. So as we know, Batgirl was basically almost done. They were doing the pickups and just finishing the damn thing, and they wrote off almost $100 million right there.
Thank God.
Green Lantern has been axed. That's gone. The project that was in the pipeline, gone. Strange Adventures, Wonder Twins, these things have been that were in the pipeline, right? That Gunn and Peter couldn't get their hands on and start twisting and tweaking already because they were pretty much so far in. They killed them all. So it looks like from the outside looking in that they're maybe even trying to give him a blank slate to say, we don't have a whole lot on the pipeline. We'll probably have Wonder Woman, and we have the Aquaman stuff, and who the hell knows what's going on with the Flash movie. Peacemakers can stay, because James, that's your baby, but we're trying to give you guys a wide berth to do whatever the hell you want and reboot this thing. My biggest concern when I first read it too was two people doing this. To your point, they have to be uh, compatible and they have to have a good relationship together. But do you think Peter's gonna be like the naysayer? Like you think the finances is what's gonna drive the decision and not the art?
I think that, yeah, I think the budgetary concerns are always the enemy of creative. Absolutely. I think that, not having a clearly defined, like execution path is a giant no-no for finance, and is the thing that offers a little bit of room to explore and room to grow for creative people. So I mean, yes, I think that these like are two like diametrically opposed type of
Right.
philosophies,
Yeah.
right? So look, Gunn has plenty of experience, as does Peter Safran. I'm not questioning their bona fides. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm sure they are qualified. That's not my problem, right? My problem is everything that DC has done to date has fallen flat, and the seemingly the fix would be, well, put if the studio keeps mucking around and screwing up the projects, then put somebody at the head of the studio that's not going to do that.
Right.
But okay, but like, how many these look, Gunn, Safran, they're not going to be writing, they're not going to be producing, and they're not going to be directing. But they're going to want a voice in how this goes down, and what producer, writer, and director want that.
Yeah.
Nobody.
I guess it's true, right?
So I still think we're comparing apples and lug nuts. Like they're not even
Same.
speaking they're not even speaking the same cranberry.
Yeah, I guess my biggest concern is, while you can put two people in charge of this, people who maybe love this stuff, maybe have a thought, have a passion, have a drive, and maybe they have the best relationship. They have sleepovers all the time. It's no, you ain't up first. No, you ain't up first.
Right.
But at the end of the day, there's still one thing that could ruin this entire thing, and that is, it's still Warner Brothers. It's still Warner Brothers Discovery. It's new owners, right? It's the same people above Gunn, right, and Peter that can act something down at any moment. So Warner Brothers Discovery can still fuck it up because they're still Warner Brothers Discovery. Nothing's changed there. They're still completely capable to mess up something that's going well.
It's really like, all right, looking at it, I hope this is pretty objectively and not subjectively, but let's just say that I'm looking at it from someone who's never, I don't have any experience in any of this stuff, right? But I'm looking at DC and I'm looking at Marvel. As an outside observer, my perception would be that these aren't two competing brands. One is far more successful than the other, right?
Yep.
But DC still thinks they're in competition on the big screen, and they're just not, right? So I would focus on animated. It's really working out well. And I think if you play your cards right, things like what's going well in animation, what's going well, what went well in the Arrowverse, what I think Titans is going pretty well. I haven't watched, but from what I see, it kind of, it looks cool. I may check it out. Obviously Peacemaker went pretty well. Like, these formats are okay. And like, that's what I would build on. But to think that I'm new leadership, new ownership, a renewed investment in big screen projects is going to make them a player, that's faulty logic. Like, you almost have to scrap everything, forget everything you've ever done, and forget the benchmark is what Marvel is doing.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to do something else. You have to take some shots at you have to make an Iron Man, right? You have to figure that out. You have to figure out what the approach is going to, like, who's going to be the character. Don't Don't bring me Batman and don't bring me Superman.
Green Lantern. It better be Green Lantern.
And sure, but like it's not like DC is short on great
Heroes.
characters, right? Heroes or villains. I don't care which way you go. But like they're going to have to do something like that you can't ever even after watching a trailer, you couldn't be like, this is going to compete with Marvel. They have to know, like, not without a shadow of a doubt, that this will not compete. We are just hoping it catches on.
Right. That's a tough
That's
ask.
it.
That's a tough ask.
Well, look, tough ask or not, like
it's what they should do. You're right.
There's no way, right? You know, I've never once swung a bat. I'm gonna get up there and hit a home run. It's not gonna happen.
Right. Yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
Nope.
So like I can throw every analogy and metaphor at you that's ever been written or conceived, but that's kind of what we're dealing with. They are not playing the same sport. They're not doing the same thing, and they can't possibly hope to with change in leadership or a change in vision or whatever.
Yeah. You said something that did knock off my glasses, and now I'm going to be looking for this, which is, you said, the thing that excited me about Gunn was he's a writer, he's a director, and I like the stuff that he's written. But again, in this role, is a different role. He's not going to be writing.
No.
And I'm looking at his IMDb, and I'm looking at the writing credits, and Starsky and Hutch is the only thing that's coming up that's him writing. So it's true. I'm going to look now. What I'm going to look for is, what is James Gunn writing? Even if you get story by, right, that's still something in there. But you're probably right. I'm probably going to see his name way less, and either that's going to be awesome, or again, you're going to get the people like you said who said, well, obviously, James, you want to write this thing, and I don't want to do this then, because you're the one who really wants to write this. I'm not going to write it. So
CEOs don't storyboard. They
right.
Listen, really engaged CEOs may help you refine your direction and your storyboard, and that's great. But they don't write, and they can't always come into the room and say, I hate everything, start over. It doesn't work that way, right? There's got to be a give and take, especially if you don't want to alienate your writing staff or your production staff or your director. So,
or the industry, or trying to get anyone else to recruit. So you're right. That's the thing that I'm going to have to look for and see, okay, what happens when it's all said and done. I think, again, overall, this is big news, right? And with any change, right, there are only two options. It's either going to go really well, it's either going to go really bad. I don't know how much worse it could get, so I'm assuming that everything we get is going to be an improvement, but there's always room to surprise me, DC.
I honestly hope, for the sake of everyone, that it just goes okay.
Yeah.
Because if it goes really well at first, they're going to fly too close to the sun. I'm telling you.
They're going to pull an Icarus, man. Those wings are going to melt.
Yeah, man, it's going to get bad quickly, right? But if it just goes okay.
Right.
Or they keep their heads about them when something does go really well. Take all this amazing content that you have in the animated world and build on that. Listen, you know what I'd love? I would love seasons of shows on HBO Max or whatever service that are story arcs, but live action, but story arcs. Give me those. Don't immediately in the first episode throw in all kinds of references to the Justice League and all other kinds of big properties. Just build small and build some momentum. Yep. That's all I'd like to see.
Well, we will be keeping a very close eye on this. I think behind the scenes we should take a bet, a 5-year bet, as to
5 years.
Was this a good decision, and are they still in charge? Just in 5 years, what does this look like? Is that too long?
Too long.
Too short?
Can you like think of a successful 5-year streak, a successful half decade that DC has had?
No. Oh, wait. Yes, I get. I think the Dark Knight saga.
No. See that you can't call that DC.
I can't call that DC. Then no, it's impossible.
It's syncope. It's Christopher Nolan.
Whenever they were animated, they had to have a streak for 5 years in the animation sector.
Yeah, I'll give you
other
animated,
than that,
right?
No,
but nobody,
no live action, nothing. maybe
we're
the
the only people
Arrowverse,
that are
the first
watching
5 years
anime.
of the Arrowverse, I will say, sure, that was good.
Oh yeah, that was great, right? Up to like
And-
it was Arrow season 5, Flash season 4, Legend season 3.
And we're just like, oh, all right, now I'm out. As soon as the 5 years hit, I was like, oh, I can't do this anymore. This is so bad. You guys literally just hit midnight on the 5 years. I am out.
Honestly, when I see an animated feature of DC, I want to watch it right away. Like I always want to watch their animated feature. They're always really good.
This is what everyone tells me. Again, and you and Brian have been screaming this from the rooftops. My time, right? My time. I don't know why. I don't ever watch it. And I know they're the good thing, so I know I can't be let down. I watched The Killing Joke, and I was like, this is great. I've always meant to read The Killing Joke. I'm a sad sack of crap. I never did. I know they changed some stuff in it. I know, but like overall, it was pretty truthful to the Killing Joke. I loved it. This is great. It was like, great. Mask of Phantasm's next. Go watch it. You're gonna love that shit. I'm like, sounds awesome. Look, a bird. Like, and then I'm done, and then I never do it.
Gotham by Gaslight,
Yes.
Hush, Under the Red Hood, like
all
of
of
it
these
is
things
great.
are stellar, and there's little
Even the like Dark not Dark Avengers, Justice League Dark, Apocalypse War, and all that kind of.
You know what it was?
Great. Flashpoint was great. They're all great.
You had to in order to get all of this initially, you had to subscribe to that DC streaming service
I
back
did.
when there were like
Yep.
9,000
Yep.
different ways to consume all this stuff. And I was like, fuck that, I'm just not going to do it, right? And then now that it's under the HBO banner, there's just so much inside of HBO
There's
Max
so much.
that I forget that all that animated DC stuff is sitting there looking at me and
So
going,
good.
are you ever going to watch me? You said you would.
Days and days and days.
You
CJ.
said you would. Are you
Superman
gonna
Red
watch
Sun,
me?
great.
That's what I'm saying. Animation galore. That may be the next thing I probably take up. I have my watch projects right now currently, and I think I'm just about to wrap up Better Call Saul. I think I will add this DC. I will put DC on the banner. I will do animated DC and watch a whole bunch of stuff. And I make you bet I'm going to be a happier person for it. Make you bet is exactly what's going to happen. All right. So DC, we'll be looking out for you. Good luck, James. Good luck, Peter. I hope things work out for you guys. All right, the last thing, and Josh, I really wanted your opinion on this topic. It is getting close to the holiday season. People are getting ready to buy their family members, friends, significant others new electronics. The reason that Brian is not here this week is directly involved within this story, which is Brian's MacBook just died, right? Josh looked at it, and I looked at it. We were all trying to help him. Here's every article. Here's a FaceTime. Whatever we can do to try to get your thing to work. No, it is dead. And it's time for him to buy a new MacBook, and that shit's expensive. It's not an easy purchase to just plop down all in one sum. So our former employer, Best Buy, now has a program called Upgrade Plus that will let customers finance a MacBook starting at $20 a month for 36 months for like the entry-level MacBook Air. And then they have the option to either upgrade it or purchase it out, right? Now, you, good sir, are the financial guru, the financial expert when it comes to this stuff. I should probably be talking to you about all my financial credit card decisions, but I don't because, again, sad sack of crap. So I'm kind of curious to get your take on this program, but more importantly, is there maybe something better out there that we should be doing to get new computers? God knows I would like a new one. Help me out.
Yeah, yes and no. Yes and no is the answer. So if you're an early adopter and always want the newest tech, for instance, right? This is not the program for you. If, however, you don't mind holding on to a computer for years, this is a really, really good deal. So I don't know what everybody's like experience is with the MacBook Air. The MacBook Air, I had like the original 13-inch and is still my favorite laptop that I've ever owned. The battery lasted all day. It weighed nothing. It was thin as anything. Like, it was awesome, right? I mean, it basically weighs less than an iPad, which is insane. So $20 a month. Now, my guess is your credit would have to be good enough to be approved by Citi for $1,000 at minimum, right? So we're probably taking out folks under the 600 mark, is my guess.
Right, yeah, I would assume that.
But, you know,
600's not awesome, but like it's fair.
It's not awesome, but it's I think that's a fair number,
Yeah.
right? So, however, folks that we're not leaving you folks out that are under, because we did a show not too long ago where we talked about Apple Pay Later and other buy now pay later services like Affirm and Klarna and others. So like there are solutions if you don't qualify for this Upgrade Plus. However, $20 a month is super reasonable for an entry level MacBook. It's a $1,000 laptop. If you're doing the math alongside me, you're paying $20 a month for 36 months, $720, and then the final payment is $280, and that's due, right, 36 month. However, if you stick with Best Buy's program and you upgrade your MacBook and stay with this monthly lease program, basically turning in your old one and taking a new one, they're going to make that final payment for you. So you've paid $20 a month every month, right? Now, there's some other stuff that goes along with that. In order for this to make sense, right, you either need to subscribe to Best Buy's proprietary like protection and tech support program, which is like $200 a year, right? That comes with Apple Care Plus, which is nice, right? So any cracks or spills or any of that kind of stuff, you're going to be taken care of. But any way you look at it, it is going to be an additional cost of, my guess is probably $17.50 a month. So what you're actually looking at to get your money's worth out of this is probably closer to $37.50, call it $40 a month. And I'm only saying that because if you have a MacBook that you're paying $20 a month for and you have a 36-month contract and something happens to that MacBook in year one, you are still on the hook for the contract or for the repair.
Right.
And if anybody anybody listening's ever looked at the price of replacing a MacBook screen, right. It's kind of crazy, right? So, listen, simple answer, this is a really, really, really good value, right? Even at $40 a month, even at that price, it's a really good value because $1,000 up front for a MacBook, and then potentially, depending on who you are and how frequently you upgrade, every other year, right? And you're $1,000 every other year, okay, or $20 to $40 a month, and you're pretty well set. You don't have to worry about it either. This, in my opinion, is very much like what the world we moved to with mobile phones, right?
Right.
Where you're leasing it for X amount of time. You have whatever protection plan you have on your phone. And then when the time comes that you want to upgrade, you're just giving this one back and getting the new one. And maybe your bill goes up $5 a month. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But it's a really good deal.
I mean, the way that my history has gone with owning a Mac, right? I bought my MD101 back in 2011.
Yep,
right?
me too.
2011. And then in 2017 is when I bought my current MacBook Pro. Now, my current MacBook Pro, which is a 2017, is the battery is dying. It's got the service battery thing. It shuts off when it gets to 30%. Sometimes it's slow and responsive if it is under 30% and stays on. It takes forever to do things. And I looked to get a new battery, and it's $200, right? I even looked at the iFixit thing, like, I'll just do it myself. It's $150, and then I watched the repair video. I was like, no, like it's worth $50 to have
repairability score
like 4.
None.
Like fuck it, done, no dice, not gonna do it. And I was looking at it like, man, I should probably just get a new MacBook, right? And to be honest, the Air with like the M2 or even the Air with the M1, I mean, outperforms to high heavens the current Intel that I have now. So like,
for sure,
you don't need the pros for most things most people do on the computer, right? Most things you can probably get away with the Air with an M2 chip. It's a really solid thing. And I'm looking at this going, this is exactly how I would want to do this. Keep this thing for 3 years, fine. I kept the last one for 7. I've kept this one already for 5 years, right? Or 4 years. I can't do math anymore. We're in 2017 to 2022. Wow, 5 years. Jesus, I can't do math. My brain is tired. So I've done it for 5 years. Like I am the prime target, the prime target for this program, because I would, after 3 years, yeah, give me another one. I'll just keep this rolling payment going. I did some background check while you were talking, Josh. Just to make a correction, the financing is through Citizens Pay, not Citi.
Oh,
it's through Citizens. So you'll need
my
some
bad.
type.
I must have been. Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm just looking at the ad.
There's an
that popped
there's
up
an
on
ad
the
for
page.
Citi right underneath the article.
Right.
In the show
That's
notes.
what I figured it was Citi.
Sure.
Citizens. Oh, Citizens Pay is who either Apple or one of the carriers uses Citizens Pay as their lease company.
Right.
Or it's also the bank that Costigan used in The Departed there. Citizens! What an idiot.
Like 5 people who are going to get that reference.
Target
Good.
acquired.
Good for them. The other thing I'm looking at too is, from what I'm reading, and correct me if I'm wrong, from what I'm reading, even on the Best Buy website, you don't need to have the Best Buy Total Protect plan.
You don't listen.
Apple
You don't
Care
have to.
comes with it, and you should. If you're leasing a computer, you
Right.
should.
You are on the hook for this contract, whether or not you have a functional MacBook. I mean that is
Right.
that's the facts, right? So if it's broken and you have to pay to repair it, you still have to pay $20 a month on top of whatever.
Right.
Right? If it's broken beyond repair and you need a new computer, you're buying a new computer and still paying
And
$20
still
bucks
paying
a
it
month.
off. Yeah.
Right. And you still have to pay that $280 at the end if you can't turn it in
Right.
in
You
good
can't
working
turn it
condition.
in, so you gotta
Right. So you're buying it. You're like, look, please.
do it.
I mean, we're all grown-ups here. Like, there's nobody. Listen, as in terms of repair experience, Apple Care is wonderful,
Mhm.
right? And it's not like you're gonna have to go into Best Buy and wait in that line. That's not what we're talking about.
Right.
If you have Apple Care and you have a cracked screen, you go on your phone and you go to the support app and you schedule an appointment. You walk in, hand them the thing. They either repair it or hand you a replacement, and you leave.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I thought this was, again, you are a person that you got the finance thing under control when it comes to stuff like this. You always help me find the good deals. And we've also, anytime we ever buy a Mac product, I can confidently say the 3 of us on this show, anytime we're looking to buy a new Mac product, we're doing our research, we're figuring out what's a good deal, and then we're instantly going, do we know anybody, by the way, who works at Apple? Do we know
That's right.
someone who can get me that 15 or 20% discount? Like, we're looking for every nickel and dime to get it because it's such a big upfront cost. And
Yep.
you know, every 5 years, as we've seen with my history, I've got to go to my wife and be like, we're gonna spend $2,000 on something like right now, so hope you're ready. We're doing it. And I'm at that stage with my computer right now where I'm like, I think I'm ready. I'm getting, probably when Apple has their next event, I'm probably gonna look at one and be like, no, I'll take that one. So this looks super interesting. So again, from a high level perspective, the M1 MacBook Air is $20 a month. The M2 MacBook Air is $26. The 13-inch M2 Pro is $28. The 14-inch M1 Pro is $43, and the 16-inch M1 is $54. That's a solid price.
Here's the important distinction for all of you who aren't super familiar with Apple's newfangled naming, which is, I will admit,
Very confusing.
the 14 and 16-inch M1s are far superior to any M2. Those are M1 Pro chips. They outperform the M2 by 5-10x. It's crazy how much nicer the M1 Pro is than the M2. I'm just putting that out there. If you're considering doing this and you're like, oh, I really want the newest, you don't necessarily want an M2. You're not going to get a ton of
Right.
a ton more, productivity over a regular M1, and certainly not even come close to an M1 Pro.
Right. That's true. Good call.
That's all.
I forgot to put the pros on the end of the chips. Those are
That's your your nerdy tech corner for the week.
So again, if you're in the market, this is definitely something worth doing. So highly recommend it. Well, Josh, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you about some of this nerdy stuff yet again. Brian, we miss you, and I'm sure next time you're on the show, we will be doing some cleanup and some of your opinions on the DC CEO co-relationship that's going on. But listener, we want to hear from you. What do you think about this? We've been railing and ranting against DC, I would say, for years now. And this is the biggest change that's happened since we started this podcast. So I definitely want to hear from some of you listeners as to what you think the fate of DC looks like. Are you optimistic like me? Are you realistic like Josh? And then are you somewhere in between where Brian probably lives, where he's just hoping and praying that everything works out for the best, but he's set up for failure. You can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, wherever we are. Just search at That Kind of Nerd, at That Kind of Nerd Podcast on Instagram. Thank you so much for making us your walk around our neighborhood or your drive to work, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Well, welcome to the club, 'cause you are that kind of nerd.